Hi, welcome to Crystal French Geckos. In today's video, I'm going to be building a bioactive terrarium for my Heteronotias, also known as Prickly Geckos. This species of gecko is really awesome. They are a small Australian gecko that is parthenogenetic. Parthenogenetic means that the entire species is female and they all reproduce by themselves. So if you start off with one or two of these geckos, you can eventually have a small colony. Now, my colony is starting to bustle and boom, so we are going to be upgrading their tank and making it bioactive, and that's what I'm going to be showing you in today's video. Now let's get into it. For this build, I'm using a 20-gallon long terrarium. These geckos love to climb and adventure, so I'm going to use excavator sand to build them a nice terrain that they can explore. Excavator sand can be used dry, but I'm going to mix mine with water to make it a clay-like texture and use it as our glue to hold our rocks together so that we can make nice ledges for the geckos to climb on. When mixing water into the sand, I'm not going with a specific measurement of water. I just want it to get to a certain texture, which is going to be like wet clay, so it's a little bit more malleable. I'm using slate rock in this build to make our rock and climbing structures. I'm alternating between usage of the sand and the slate rock so that when we stack our rocks together, they're not going to move anywhere. It is important to cover the entire surface area of where you're going to be stacking the next rock so that the geckos can't get in between them. And I will go back over areas that have any gaps or cracks in them and fill them up so that geckos can't get in between them. This is the final product of our rock base. Because we have it layered and it has lots of different ledges and climbing areas, it's going to create a great spot for our geckos to adventure. I'm going to let that dry for a few hours and then come back to clean it. I'm just using a wet paper towel to clean off any of the excess on the rocks, and then I use a razor blade to scrape off of any of the excess on the glass. This is what our rock base looks like when it is dried and all cleaned up. Now it's time to start adding things into our tank. For substrate, I'm using a mixture of coconut fiber, peat moss, and sand. These geckos love wood and hiding places, so I'm adding in a couple pieces of cholla as well as cork bark for them. A couple of these decorations are from their old tank, and that's why they're a little bit dirty. I kept them dirty so that it'll have a similar smell, and that will make them more comfortable transitioning to a new environment. Along with the cholla and the cork, I'm also adding in some fruit ficus leaves. These work really great for smaller animals. For live plants in this terrarium, I'm going to be adding things that can withstand the heat as well as the intense light that is going to be happening in this environment. So for plants, I'm going to be using some thicker leafed bromeliads, as well as aloe deltalites, which is this plant here, some Sansevieria fernwood, a couple smaller succulents. Along with the breadfruit ficus leaves we already have in the tank, I'm also going to add in some magnolia leaves as our leaf litter. And this is pretty much what our tent is going to look like, with a couple extra steps to make it bioactive next. For isopods in this tank, I'm going to be using some Armadillidium vulgaris. These isopods are really great for hotter terrariums because they can survive off of just the humidity that's under the water dish. And here comes our last and totally unnecessary step of painting the background of our terrarium black. If you watched this channel before, you probably noticed that I like to do this to make it a little bit more put together, but that's a totally unnecessary step and you don't have to follow it. This is going to be the final product of what our terrarium looks like, so our last step is going to be to add in our geckos and see how they like it. To this tank, I'm adding in 4 subadult to adult Heteronotias, or Prickly Geckos. They will all lay their eggs in the substrate, and then I normally take the eggs out to incubate and will grow the babies up in a separate terrarium before adding them in with the adults. And like I said previously, all of these are female. They are parthenogenic, so they all reproduce by themselves. Every single female will lay fertile eggs, and those will hatch out as babies, and once they are grown up enough, they will go into the tank with the adults and create a small colony. Thank you for watching today's video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more content like this. If you would like to see more of our geckos and our bioactive terrariums, you can check us out on Instagram at Crystal French Geckos. Thank you for watching. Bye!